The message appeared in the family group chat on December 18th, 1 week before Christmas. I was in a meeting with the CEO of a healthcare system we were consulting for, a $240 million digital transformation project, when my phone lit up with notifications. I ignored it. The meeting was critical. We were finalizing the implementation timeline for an AI-driven diagnostic platform that would serve 2.3 million patients across 14 hospitals. This was the kind of work that changed lives, and it required my full attention. Dr. Martinez, if we accelerate the pilot to January, we can have preliminary outcomes data by March, I said, pointing to the Gantt chart on the screen. That gives us a compelling case study for the board before the fiscal year budget decisions. She nodded, impressed. Your team thinks of everything. This is why we chose Catalyst Solutions over the larger consulting firms. You actually understand healthcare, not just technology. After the meeting, I finally checked my phone. 17 messages in the family chat. Dad's message was pinned at the top. Family announcement. Christmas is for successful family members only. No failures allowed this year. We're keeping it to people who've actually made something of themselves. Below it, a cascade of responses. Uncle Robert, face with tears of joy finally. Quality over quantity. Cousin Jennifer, does this mean I can skip Aunt Martha's fruitcake? Cousin David, savage but fair, Uncle Mike. My brother Kevin, who specifically are we excluding? Eyes. Dad, you know who. People who can't even hold down a real job. People who are still finding themselves at 29. The implication was clear. He meant me. My mother had added a laughing emoji. My sister-in-law had written, "It'll be nice to have a drama-free holiday for once." I scrolled through the entire thread. 23 messages, all agreeing that Christmas should be reserved for the successful members of the family. No one had defended me. No one had questioned the cruelty of the announcement. I typed and deleted 3 responses. Finally, I just muted the chat and returned to work. Here's what my family knew about my life. I dropped out of medical school after 1 year. I worked from home doing consulting, which they assumed meant I was underemployed. I lived in a modest apartment in Austin, Texas. I drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic. I rarely attended family events. Here's what they didn't know. I was the founder and CEO of Catalyst Solutions, a healthcare technology consulting firm that specialized in AI implementation and digital transformation. We'd grown from just me in my apartment to 4 to 7 employees across 3 offices in 3 years. Our annual revenue was $160 million. I personally owned 73% of the company, making my stake worth approximately $215 million. I'd dropped out of medical school not because I'd failed, but because I'd identified a massive market opportunity. During my clinical rotations, I'd watched brilliant doctors waste hours on administrative tasks that could be automated. I'd seen diagnostic delays because data systems didn't talk to each other. I'd witnessed preventable medical errors caused by fragmented information. So I'd left medical school and started building solutions. My first client had been a small clinic in Austin willing to take a chance on a medical school dropout with a big idea. I'd built them a custom patient management system that reduced their administrative time by 60%. They'd referred me to another clinic. Then another. Within 6 months, I had 12 clients and had hired my first employee. Within a year, I had a hospital system contract. Within 2 years, I had partnerships with 3 major healthcare networks. But to my family, I was just Sarah, the disappointing daughter who'd quit medical school and was still trying to figure things out. The misunderstanding had started the day I'd called home to announce I was leaving medical school. "You what?" Dad had exploded. "Do you have any idea how much we've invested in your education? I paid for medical school myself with loans and scholarships. And I'm leaving because I found something more important." "More important than being a doctor?" "Sarah, this is insane. You're throwing away your future." "I'm not throwing it away. I'm building something. I've identified a massive problem in healthcare technology and I have solutions." "Solutions? You're a first-year medical student. What could you possibly know about solutions?" "I know that hospitals are losing millions of dollars to inefficient systems. I know that doctors are burning out doing administrative work that could be automated. I know that I can build platforms that solve these problems." "This is a fantasy. You need a stable career, not some pipe dream about starting a business. Get back to medical school, finish your degree, and stop wasting everyone's time. I'd hung up and never tried to explain again. For 3 years, I'd built Catalyst solutions while my family thought I was failing. Every time they asked what I was doing, I said consulting. When they asked if I was making money, I said enough. When they suggested I go back to medical school or get a real job, I just changed the subject. It wasn't worth the energy to convince them. I was too busy actually building something meaningful. The Fortune magazine interview had happened 2 months earlier, in October. They were doing their annual 40 Under 40 feature, highlighting young entrepreneurs and executives who were reshaping their industries. The journalist, Amanda Chen, had been thorough. 3 phone interviews, extensive fact-checking, conversations with my clients and employees. She'd been particularly interested in the medical school dropout angle. You walked away from a guaranteed high-income career to start a consulting firm, she'd said. That takes enormous confidence. Where did that come from? It wasn't confidence. It was clarity. I saw a problem that was costing the healthcare industry billions of dollars and causing real harm to patients. I knew I could fix it better from the outside than from inside as one doctor. Your family didn't support the decision. I'd hesitated. They didn't understand it. Still don't, really. Do they know about Catalyst's success now? I don't discuss it with them. We're not close. She'd written that down with interest. The article had been scheduled to air as a TV special on Fortune's streaming channel Christmas morning, then appear in the January print issue. I hadn't told my family. Why would I? I wasn't invited to Christmas anyway. I spent Christmas Eve exactly how I wanted to spend it, working. We had a major presentation to the board of directors at Memorial Healthcare System on January 3rd, and I wanted the proposal to be flawless. Around 8 p.m., my head of operations, Marcus, video called me. Boss, it's Christmas Eve. You need to stop working. Says the man who's also clearly working. He grinned. Fair point. But seriously, have you eaten? Have you left your apartment today? I had coffee. And no. Sarah, you built a $160 million company in 3 years. You can take one night off. The Memorial contract is worth $85 million over 5 years. I want it perfect. It's already perfect. You've revised it 6 times. At this point, you're just procrastinating. Procrastinating what? Dealing with whatever's bothering you. You get hyper-focused on work when you're avoiding personal stuff. What happened? I considered lying, then decided against it. Marcus had been with me since the beginning, my first hire. My most trusted advisor, my closest friend. My family uninvited me from Christmas. My dad announced in the group chat that only successful family members were welcome this year. He meant me. I'm the failure. Marcus's face darkened. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was. Sarah, you're one of the most successful people I know. You built this company from nothing. We have 4 to 7 employees who depend on us. We're changing how healthcare operates. How can anyone call you a failure? They don't know about Catalyst. They think I'm just doing freelance consulting, barely getting by. Why don't they know? Because I stopped trying to tell them years ago. They didn't want to hear it. He was quiet for a moment. The Fortune feature airs tomorrow morning. I know. Are they going to watch it? Probably not. They don't know I'm in it. Sarah. I didn't do this to prove anything to them, Marcus. I built Catalyst because it mattered. Because healthcare technology is broken and I knew how to fix it. Their approval or understanding was never the goal. I know that. But doesn't part of you want them to know? Want them to understand what they missed? I closed my laptop. Maybe. But wanting them to know and needing them to know are different things. I don't need their validation anymore. I did this without them. I'll keep doing it without them. You're a better person than I am. If my family called me a failure, I'd want to rub their faces in my success. That's because you're petty. Proudly petty. It's one of my best qualities. I laughed despite myself. Go spend Christmas Eve with your wife, Marcus. I'll see you Monday. After we hung up, I poured a glass of wine and stood at my apartment window, looking out at the Austin skyline. It was quiet, most people home with their families. I thought about what Christmas looked like at my parents' house. My brother Kevin and his wife, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, all gathered around the tree, celebrating success. Success that looked like Kevin's middle management job at an insurance company. Success that looked like my cousin Jennifer's real estate license. Success that looked conventional, visible, easy to explain at cocktail parties. Not success that looked like revolutionizing healthcare technology delivery. I raised my glass to the empty apartment. Merry Christmas to me. I woke up at 6 a.m. Christmas morning and went for a run through the empty streets of Austin. The air was cool but not cold, Texas winter at its best. I ran 6 miles, cleared my head, and returned home to find my phone flooded with messages. Not from my family. From colleagues, clients, and friends who'd watched the Fortune feature. It had aired at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Central. The segment was 17 minutes long, longer than a typical feature, which meant they'd considered it particularly compelling. I pulled it up on my laptop and watched. The production quality was stunning. They'd filmed me at our Austin office, interviewing staff members. They'd gotten footage of me presenting to healthcare executives. They'd interviewed 3 of our major clients, who spoke glowingly about Catalyst's impact. The narrative arc was powerful. Medical school dropout sees opportunity, builds company from nothing, revolutionizes industry, becomes one of the youngest successful CEOs in healthcare technology. Amanda Chen's voiceover was particularly effective. Sarah Mitchell didn't follow the traditional path to success. She abandoned it entirely. While her family expected her to become a doctor, she saw a bigger opportunity, to fix the broken systems that were holding doctors back. 3 years later, she's built a $160 million company that's transforming healthcare delivery across the country. They'd included the bit about my family not supporting the decision, though they'd been tactful about it. Mitchell's family didn't understand her choice to leave medical school. They thought I was failing, she says. They still do, actually. But Mitchell wasn't deterred. She built Catalyst Solutions without family support, funding, or encouragement, proving that conventional approval isn't necessary for unconventional success. The segment ended with me at a whiteboard, explaining a complex AI diagnostic algorithm to my team. The camera captured my passion, my expertise, my absolute command of the subject matter. Sarah Mitchell is reshaping healthcare technology, Amanda concluded. And she's just getting started. My phone rang. It was my PR consultant, Jessica. Sarah. Have you seen the response? The segment is trending on Twitter. #healthcare innovation is blowing up. And Fortune's website just published the full article with additional content. You on the cover of the 40 Under 40 issue. The cover. The cover. This is huge exposure. I've already gotten 15 interview requests from major outlets. CBS This Morning wants you tomorrow. TechCrunch wants an exclusive about your growth strategy. The Wall Street Journal wants to do a deep dive on healthcare AI. Jessica, slow down. What about potential clients? That's what actually matters. Oh my God, yes. 3 hospital systems have reached out asking for consultations. 2 major medical device companies want to discuss partnerships. A venture capital firm wants to talk about funding expansion. Sarah, this is exactly the visibility we needed. After we hung up, I made coffee and watched the segment 2 more times, analyzing it from a business perspective. The messaging was perfect. The positioning was exactly what we needed. This would open doors we'd been trying to crack for months. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Boss. Holy shit. You're famous. My wife cried watching the segment. The part about building it without family support, powerful stuff. How are you feeling? I typed back, grateful for the exposure. This is good for the company. That's it? That's all you feel? I thought about it. What else should I feel? I don't know. Vindicated? Proud? Excited that your family is probably watching right now and realizing they were wrong about you. They're probably not watching. Want to bet? At 8:47 a.m. Central Time, my phone started ringing. First Kevin. Then my mother. Then my father. Then Uncle Robert. Then Cousin Jennifer. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9:15, the text started. Kevin, Sarah. Sarah. You on Fortune. You on the cover. What the hell? Mom, sweetheart, please call me. We saw the program. We had no idea. Please call. Dad, we need to talk. Immediately. Uncle Robert, is that really you? The Sarah from the Fortune feature? Mike's daughter? Cousin Jennifer, OMG, I can't believe you didn't tell us. You're a CEO? I muted the family group chat, which had exploded with 147 messages in 30 minutes. Then my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. My brother Kevin stood there, still in his pajamas and a jacket, looking disheveled. I know you're home, Sarah. Your car is here. Please open the door. I considered pretending I wasn't there. But Kevin had driven an hour from our parents' house to my apartment. That deserved acknowledgement. I opened the door. You're on Fortune magazine, he said without preamble. I am. You built a $160 million company. I did. You have 4 to 7 employees. 48, actually. We just hired a new data scientist. He stared at me. Why didn't you tell us? I tried to tell you. Multiple times over 3 years. No one was interested. That's not fair. It's completely fair, Kevin. When I left medical school, Dad called me an idiot. When I tried to explain what I was building, Mom said I was wasting my potential. When I mentioned landing a hospital contract, you suggested I get a job with benefits. After a while, I stopped trying. But a $160 million company, Sarah. You had to know that was worth mentioning. I mentioned it. I said I was doing well. That my consulting firm was growing. That I had clients and employees. You heard consulting and decided I was barely scraping by. You filled in the narrative you wanted, not the reality I was describing. We didn't know. You didn't ask. There's a difference. He ran a hand through his hair. Do you know what it was like this morning? We were having Christmas breakfast, and my son turned on the TV. There you were. On Fortune's 40 Under 40 special. They called you a revolutionary force in healthcare technology. They said you're worth over $200 million. My kid looked at me and said, "Why did you say Aunt Sarah was a failure?" Why did you say that? Because Dad said it. Because we all thought. He stopped. Because we didn't know. You could have known. You chose not to. So what now? You're just going to cut us off? Punish us for not understanding? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not interested in a relationship where love and respect are conditional on success that's visible and conventional enough for you to understand. I built Catalyst without your support. I'll keep building it without your support. Sarah, come on. We're family. Are we? Because family doesn't announce in a group chat that only successful members are welcome at Christmas. Family doesn't call someone a failure for choosing an unconventional path. Family doesn't mock someone for 3 years without ever asking if maybe they're actually doing well. Kevin's face crumpled. Dad feels terrible. Mom won't stop crying. They want to apologize. Then they can apologize. But their apology doesn't undo 3 years of dismissal and mockery. It doesn't give me back the support I needed when I was building this company from nothing. It doesn't change the fact that their pride in me is entirely dependent on external validation from Fortune magazine. What do you want from us? I considered the question. Nothing. That's the point. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your pride. I don't need your understanding. I built something meaningful while you all thought I was failing, and that taught me that your opinions of my success are irrelevant. That's harsh. No. It's honest. And maybe that's what this family needs, some honesty instead of whatever this is. He looked at me for a long moment. Can you at least call Mom? She's really upset. Tell Mom I'll call her when I'm ready. Right now, I have work to do. We're finalizing a proposal for an $85 million contract and I need to focus. After Kevin left, I sat down at my laptop and did exactly what I'd said. I worked. Because that's what I'd always done. When my family dismissed me, I worked. When they mocked my choices, I worked. When they called me a failure, I worked. And the work had paid off in ways they were only now beginning to understand. The fortune feature changed everything, for my business, my reputation, my opportunities. What it didn't change was my fundamental relationship with work, with purpose, with the mission that had driven me from the beginning. Over the next week, I took meetings with 3 hospital systems, 2 venture capital firms, and a medical technology company interested in acquisition. I politely declined, we weren't for sale. I gave interviews to CBS This Morning, TechCrunch, and the Wall Street Journal. I reviewed proposals from 15 potential new hires. I also ignored 4 to 7 calls from family members. On New Year's Eve, I finally called my mother. Sarah. Her voice broke on my name. Thank you for calling. How was Christmas? It was awful. After Kevin came back from your apartment, we couldn't stop talking about it. About how badly we'd misjudged you. About what we'd missed. You didn't misjudge me. You just never bothered to look closely enough to judge accurately. That's fair. That's more than fair. She paused. Your father wants to talk to you. I'm not ready to talk to Dad yet. He knows what he said was wrong. The group chat message, the no failures comment, his mortified, Sarah. He never meant. He absolutely meant it. He meant me. And every single person in that chat understood he meant me. Don't rewrite history to make it less painful. Silence. Then, you're right. He meant it. We all knew it. It was cruel and we should have defended you. Yes. You should have. Can you forgive us? I don't know yet. Ask me again in a year, after you've all had time to prove whether this awakening is real or just embarrassment at being exposed. What does that mean? It means you're all sorry now because Fortune magazine validated my success. But I was doing the exact same work last month when Dad called me a failure. The work didn't change. Your awareness of it changed. So I need to know if your pride and respect are based on who I actually am and what I actually accomplish, or if they are based on external validation that makes you look good. Sarah, that's not. It is fair, Mom. I built a $160 million company while you thought I was failing. I employed 48 people while you thought I couldn't hold a job. I revolutionized healthcare technology delivery while you thought I was wasting my medical school education. The question is, would you have respected any of that if Fortune hadn't told you to? She started crying. I don't know. I wish I could say yes, but I don't know. At least you're honest. That's more than I expected. What do we do now? You decide what kind of family you want to be. One that judges based on conventional success markers, or one that actually pays attention to the people they supposedly love. I've already decided who I am. The ball is in your court. The Memorial Healthcare System contract closed in February, $85 million over 5 years. We hired 23 new employees to handle the expanded workload. 3 more hospital systems signed on for digital transformation projects. Our projected annual revenue for the year was $340 million. Forbes did a follow-up piece in March titled "The Medical School Dropout Who's Disrupting Healthcare." The article delved deeper into Catalyst's technology and its impact on patient outcomes. We'd reduced diagnostic times by an average of 43% across our client hospitals. We'd decreased administrative costs by 67%. We'd improved patient satisfaction scores by 34%. The work was changing lives. Saving lives, actually. That had always been the goal. My family had been trying. Dad had sent a long email apologizing for the Christmas announcement and explaining that he'd been projecting his own fears and insecurities. Mom had started attending my public speaking events, not to support me, exactly, but to understand what I did. Kevin had read every article about Catalyst and was asking surprisingly intelligent questions about healthcare technology. In April, I agreed to have dinner with them. We met at a nice restaurant in Dallas, halfway between Austin and their home in Fort Worth. The atmosphere was tense, everyone carefully polite. The Memorial Healthcare contract is impressive, Dad said after we'd ordered. I've been reading about it. The scope of the digital transformation, it's ambitious. It is. But we're ready for it. We've built the team and the infrastructure. How did you learn to manage such large projects? You were only in medical school for a year. I taught myself. I read everything I could about project management, healthcare operations, change management. I hired people smarter than me and learned from them. I made mistakes and adapted. That's how you build expertise. Mom reached across the table. I'm sorry we weren't there to see it. To support it. You weren't there because you chose not to be there. I gave you opportunities to understand what I was building. You weren't interested. We should have been interested, Kevin said. We should have asked more questions. Paid more attention. Believed in you even when we didn't understand. Yes. You should have. But you didn't. And that taught me something valuable, that I don't need family approval to build something meaningful. It would have been nice to have it. But it wasn't necessary. Dad set down his fork. That's a lonely way to live, Sarah. Is it? I have a team of 48 people who believe in our mission. I have clients who trust my expertise. I have colleagues who respect my work. I have friends who support me. I built a community of people who actually see me clearly. That doesn't feel lonely. But we're your family. You're people who share my DNA. That doesn't automatically make you family. Family is earned through consistent support and genuine interest. You haven't earned that designation in 3 years. The silence was heavy. What would earning it look like? Mom asked quietly. I considered the question. It would look like you making an effort to understand my work, not because Fortune magazine says you should, but because you're genuinely curious about what matters to me. It would look like you respecting my choices even when they don't fit your template of success. It would look like you showing up consistently, not just when it's impressive or convenient. We want to do that, Kevin said. We want to try. Then try. Not with grand gestures or dramatic apologies. Just with consistent, genuine effort over time. Ask me about my work because you care, not because you're trying to make up for past failures. Support me because you love me, not because you're embarrassed you didn't realize I was successful. Dad nodded slowly. We can do that. We want to do that. Then prove it. Starting now. Not with words, but with actions. The Christmas group chat message appeared on December 18th, exactly 1 year after the original announcement. Dad, family announcement. Christmas is for everyone this year. All family members are welcome and valued. No exceptions. No qualifications. Just family. Below it, a different kind of cascade. Mom, looking forward to seeing everyone. Red heart hash. Kevin, can't wait. Sarah, are you coming? Uncle Robert, glad we're doing this right this time. Cousin Jennifer, Sarah, please say you'll come. I want to hear about the new Seattle office. I stared at the messages for a long moment. Over the past year, my family had been trying. Really trying. Dad had visited my Austin office twice and asked intelligent questions about our work. Mom had read the healthcare technology articles I'd sent her. Kevin had attended one of my speaking engagements and brought his kids, explaining to them that Aunt Sarah was changing how hospitals work. They'd shown up. Consistently. Without fanfare or expectation of immediate forgiveness. I typed back, I'll be there. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. Heart emojis, excitement, questions about what I wanted for Christmas. Christmas morning, I drove to my parents' house. The gathering was different this year, warmer, more genuine. My nephew ran up when I arrived. Aunt Sarah. I saw you on TV again. You were talking about how computers help doctors. Did you understand any of it? Not really. But Mom explained that you make hospitals work better. That's cool. Kevin approached with 2 mugs of coffee. Merry Christmas, Sarah. Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming. I know it means a lot to Mom and Dad. To all of us. You've all earned it. The past year, the effort you've made, it's made a difference. We should have made that effort 3 years ago. Yes. But you're making it now. That counts for something. Dad found me in the kitchen. Sarah. I'm glad you're here. Me too. I've been thinking about what you said. About family being earned. You were right. We took you for granted. We assumed you'd always be here even while we dismissed your choices and mocked your success. That was wrong. It was. But you've been working to change it. I see that. I want to keep working at it. Not because Fortune magazine says I should, but because you're my daughter and I should have been supporting you all along. I hugged him. Thank you for saying that. Later, during dinner, Uncle Robert raised his glass. I want to make a toast. To Sarah, whose success reminded us all that achievement looks different for everyone, and that family means actually seeing each other clearly. We failed at that for too long. Thank you for giving us another chance. The room echoed with agreement and raised glasses. My nephew tugged on my sleeve. Aunt Sarah, can you come talk to my class about what you do? My teacher says we're learning about healthcare and technology. I'd love to. Really? That would be so cool. Everyone will be so impressed that my aunt is on TV and in magazines and stuff. Mom overheard and winced. Tyler, that's not why we're proud of Aunt Sarah. It's not? No. We're proud because she's brilliant and works hard and helps people. The TV and magazines are just other people recognizing what we should have recognized all along. Tyler looked confused, but I smiled at my mother. She'd learned. They'd all learned. It had taken Fortune magazine, public exposure, and undeniable proof of success. I wished it hadn't required external validation. I wished they'd believed in me when I was still building, still struggling, still unproven. But people are imperfect. Families are imperfect. And sometimes the best you can hope for is that they eventually figure it out and do better. Mine had. Finally. 2 years after the Christmas that changed everything, I stood in front of 500 healthcare executives at the annual Digital Health Summit, giving the keynote address. When I left medical school, people thought I was making the biggest mistake of my life, I said. Including my family. But I knew something they didn't, that the biggest problems in healthcare weren't going to be solved by one more doctor. They were going to be solved by better systems, better technology, better integration of data and intelligence. I advanced the slide, showing Catalyst's growth trajectory. 3 years ago, we were one person with an idea. Today, we're 127 employees across 4 offices, working with 48 hospital systems, impacting 18 million patient lives annually. We've reduced diagnostic times, decreased administrative costs, improved outcomes. But more importantly, we've proven that unconventional paths can lead to revolutionary results. After the keynote, my family was waiting in the lobby. All of them, Mom, Dad, Kevin and his family, even Uncle Robert and Cousin Jennifer. They'd driven from Dallas to Austin to watch me speak. That was incredible, Dad said, his voice thick with emotion. Watching you command that room, explaining complex concepts in ways people could understand, I've never been more proud. You made it sound so simple, Mom added. But I know how hard the work actually is. I've been reading your case studies. Kevin grinned. My boss wants to know if Catalyst does consulting for insurance companies. I told him I'd ask my genius sister. Tell him to send me a proposal. I'll review it. Tyler, now 12 and increasingly interested in technology, had questions about AI and machine learning. I spent 20 minutes explaining neural networks while he listened, rapt. This was what family could be when it worked. Not perfect, not without history or hurt, but genuine. Present. Trying. We had dinner together that evening at my favorite restaurant in Austin. The conversation flowed naturally, questions about my work, updates about their lives, laughter and connection. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we'd supported you from the beginning? Mom asked during dessert. Sometimes. But I also think about what I learned by building this without support. Resilience. Self-reliance. The knowledge that my worth isn't dependent on anyone else's recognition. Those are valuable lessons, even if they came through pain. Do you forgive us? Dad asked quietly. I considered the question. I'm building something new with you. Not forgiveness exactly, but forward motion. A relationship based on who we are now, not who we were then. Is that enough? It's more than enough, he said. It's more than we deserve. Maybe. But it's what I'm willing to give. And it's working, isn't it? This, us, here, now, it's real. It's better than it was. Much better, Mom agreed. Later, driving back to my apartment, I thought about the journey, from medical school dropout to CEO, from family disappointment to Fortune cover, from Excluded at Christmas to keynote speaker with family in attendance. The external markers were impressive. The revenue numbers, the employee count, the media coverage, the industry recognition. But the real victory was internal. The knowledge that I'd built something meaningful on my own terms, that I'd defined success for myself, that I'd created value without needing anyone's permission or approval. My family's eventual understanding and support was a bonus. A welcome bonus, but not the foundation. The foundation was the work itself. The patients helped, the systems improved, the problems solved. That had always been enough. That would always be enough. And if it took Fortune magazine to help my family see that, well, at least they were seeing it now. Better late than never.